Water bodies constitute more than a third of the land area. For example, a body of water like the Pacific Ocean has an approximate area of about 165 million square kilometers. The combined area of all the continents is about 148 million square kilometers. In other words, the Pacific Ocean alone can swallow all the land on the surface of the Earth. That is why the matter of meeting a small boat, or even a large ship, after they are lost in the ocean, is a much more difficult matter than meeting a needle in a haystack. Either the ship or the boat is the one who meets you or others without any effort. This is the mysterious event that many people attribute to ghosts. During the voyage of the U.S. Valencia, on January 22, 1906, the ocean turned upside down, and the crew of the ship found themselves in the Juan de Fuca Strait between America and Canada. And this area is unfortunately famous for the cemetery of the Pacific Ocean. It is considered one of the most dangerous areas for navigation. The problem of this region is the violent waves and unstable nature that it is famous for the density of shark coral reefs. I mean, if it happened and a ship broke down in this area, it would be very difficult to save it. And because of that, when the ship called for distress, some ships arrived at it, and none of them was able to get close enough to it to be able to save the one on it. The only solution was that the ship's crew waited until the storm subsided. But with their panic, they disobeyed the captain's orders and tried to use small boats to reach the shore. And of course, the expected happened, and the boats sank. Until here, Valencia happened, despite its tragedy, but it is a natural accident, and there is no strange need. But 4 years after this accident, specifically in July 1910, the Coast Guard received a distress signal from sailors calling for help. And when the rescue forces arrived, there was no sign of any problem. When the sailors asked Dole why they called for help, they said that they thought they would be captured by a pirate ship. They said that this ship was named after the ship that was supposed to have crashed and disappeared 4 years ago. The sailors said that the ship came so close to them that they thought they could not see them. Despite their attempts, they communicate with the ship's crew. However, there was no response. But what happened after that is that the ship as it appeared suddenly disappeared suddenly. And of course, at that time, no one cared about the sailors' story. They considered that they were going through some hallucinations. But from that day, rumors began to spread that this ship was actually appearing and disappearing. The real surprise happened in 1933, when some wrecks were discovered from the ship they had originally thought it sank. These wrecks are still parts of it today, located near the coast, and the parts that were recovered were displayed at the Maritime Museum in British Columbia. In September 1931, while the British ship Bechimo, on a voyage near the North Pole, was surprised by a large ice storm that froze the water. At that time, the crew knew that the ship was doomed to spend the whole winter in that place. They decided to wait until the winter ended and the spring came, hoping that the ice would melt. They set up camp in a city near the ship, north of Alaska. Some crew members were taking turns on the ship in order to do a few repairs and try to break the snow around it from everywhere in an attempt that the snow would not bury the ship and leave them. But one day, news reached the crew from some fishermen that they had seen the ship south of the place it was in. At that time, a team from the crew went to verify the information. Indeed, they found the ship in the new place. However, after examination, it was found that the ship had become unsuitable for navigation. At that time, the captain decided to abandon her and submitted papers for the loss of the ship and most of the goods that were on it. But a month after this incident, specifically in March 1932, the competent authorities decided that they were trying to recover the ship. But as the captain had expected, the ship sank and disappeared completely from the place where it was. The strange thing is that some time after this incident, news reached again that the ship was seen in the east of the place where it was. Surprisingly, the search teams were activated in order to find it again, and this incident was repeated twice. Each time among them, the rescue teams were trying to recover it. But it always ended up not finding anything. And the situation remained like this until the notifications reached 12 during the period between 1932 and 1969. However, the ship completely eluded them, and from that day they left this ghost ship alone. The Spanish ship Calich is considered the most important ship in Chilean culture. The reason for the importance of this ship is that it is considered an important heritage in popular culture, and the island of Chiloé, which is believed to appear on it and disappear, is considered one of the most important tourist attractions on which the country depends. As for the story of the ship itself, it differs between three narrations. The first story says that the ship was on board a group of clerics and missionaries, but they drowned while trying to reach, and this story claims that the ship always appears during the night and is characterized by lights, colors, chants, and music. As for the second story, it says that this ship was boarded by a group of invaders, but they drowned in it, and that it also appears at night, like the first story, and there are sounds from it. But this time, it was sounds of the loud type similar to screaming. In a third narration, it says that this ship will appear according to the nature of the people you see. If they were good people, the ship of the good guys would appear to them. And if they were evil people, the ship of evil spirits would appear to them. Many adventurers and tourists try to test their souls by noticing which ships appear to them. This is in the... On February 13, 1748, Captain Simon Reed and his new wife set sail for their honeymoon. The trip was by sailboat known as Mrs. Lovey Bond. But as the boat crossed the Strait of Dover in the English Channel, the boat was affected by the sediments of the thick rivers flowing the place. The strong tidal movement led to the sinking of the boat and its disappearance. To end the honeymoon with her. But in 1798, 50 years after the accident, the captain of the ship sent a distress message after it collided with a boat named Mrs. Lovey Bond. The captain said that despite the force of the shock, the bow sank. However, his ship did not receive any damage, which the captain and his crew considered a miracle. Based on this report, the search teams began their mission. But as usual, they didn't find anything. The ship was forgotten many years later. 50 years later, reports from sailors began to arrive about their sighting of a boat named Lovey Bond drowning in the English Channel. Search teams went out at the time, but they did not find anything. And this story kept repeating every 50 years from the date of the incident. Reports spread, but the end was always the same. It is that the search teams do not find any evidence. A lot of football fans, especially Dutch football fans, note that famous players in the Netherlands are known as the Flying Dutchman. The nickname of the Flying Dutchman in Dutch culture means something that is constantly moving and impossible to catch. The Flying Dutchman is originally the name of the ship. While this ship was crossing the Cape of Good Hope, a strong storm broke out. At that time, the sailors asked the captain of the ship that they postpone crossing the area. But the stubborn captain insisted on crossing, and unfortunately the ship sank. Despite its drowning, the reports about watching it did not stop. What also helped to make this ship famous is how it was featured in a number of Dutch artworks. And news events were usually told about the ship of the Flying Dutchman, which was condemned to travel forever in the seas and oceans. The one who sees it or catches it is also condemned to misfortune and loss. The ship Lyubov Orlova is a huge icebreaker from the days of the Soviet Union, and this ship did its duty perfectly until 2010. Because of some bureaucratic problems, in addition to the dilapidated condition of the ship was abandoned until they found a dock in the North Atlantic near Newfoundland County. The abandoned ship remained in place for 2 years, but in the end the ship disappeared. They believed at the time that the ship sank, but then there were the ship in some places that aroused suspicion. The most important of these reports was to see it near the coast of England. The news was published at the time in the British newspaper The Sun. Some reports confirmed that they saw strange creatures on board the ship. However, of course, there are no official documents confirming observations of this kind. Although the Mary Celeste ship does not appear and disappear like other ships, what happened with it is much more mysterious. The Marie Celeste is one of the most famous and mysterious ships. The summary of her story is that a British ship estimated that she was monitoring the Mary Celeste ship near the Azores after it disappeared. With the inspection of the ship, it was found that all its passengers had disappeared. The strange thing remained that the ship was in excellent condition, and all the ship's possessions and its cargo were as it is. It was never understood what makes all these people suddenly disappear. And sure, it was not attacked by pirates, or it was all stolen. In addition, the captain's biography and the testimony of his colleagues confirm that he never drank alcohol and did not even think of committing suicide. Even the people who said that he committed suicide, does this mean that all those who were on the ship committed suicide with him as a courtesy? Or what? With the absence of any logical explanation for the incident, many people consider that what happened to Mary Celeste could very well fall under the category of paranormal phenomena and ghosts. That's all for today. Don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. And also tell us in the comments section about ideas for upcoming videos.